What's up, Shifting Focus? We have an incredible guest in the studio today. We are here with Shawn Greenan. She is a retired acupuncturist physician. She's a retired acupuncture physician.
Acupuncture physician.
Acupuncture physician. That's okay.
She's that.
She's an AP.
She is
AP. Yeah.
She is also a Coast Guard veteran, and she is the owner of Renovation Cells here in Emerald Coast. We are going to jump right in and go uncover some stuff because you have a really cool story, and I love that you've weaved and you've got some medical stuff. I just want to, David hasn't heard it. I want him to learn all about what you do and share your gifts with us here on the Emerald Coast.
How'd you end up here?
Emerald Coast. So I grew up the road in Delville, Alabama, tiny town, but right up the road. And we had the opportunity for my husband to get transferred here to Duke Air Base. So
He's Coast Guard also.
He is Air Force. He's Air Force
that's right.
officer.
Okay.
Yeah, comms unit at Duke. And so, we jumped on the opportunity to be closer to family and come back to the beautiful Emerald Coast. So here we are.
So you just asked, you said Coast Guard also. So you were in the Coast Guard, I take it?
Yeah, I was in the Coast Guard, and that's where I met my husband. He was in the Coast Guard.
Okay, I was like, wait, I thought I heard.
And I was actually his replacement. We were at Air Station Sacramento, which is search and rescue and law enforcement, C-130 air station out there. So I was coming in, and I was his replacement, and he was moving over to Air Station San Fran. So they're pretty close to each other. So just like the overlap. And then he kind of slid into my MySpace DMs, 17 years ago when MySpace was a thing.
How long did it take to get in the top 4?
The friends
Or
list.
top 8? They extended it to like 60 by one point, but I remember it's top 4.
It took a while. I actually was like ignoring him because I was on my like boss girl era. I was like, I just moved here. I'm not trying to get in a relationship, like whatever. But he was really cute. And so I just kept giving in to the conversations. And then one day he was like, you got to eat. Like, let me take you out to eat. And I was like, okay, whatever. And it was the rest is history. So 17 years of marriage now. That's great. And now he's transferred over to the Air Force. He's now an officer in the Air Force.
That is so cool. So when you said you switched, you were taking over his position.
Yeah.
What was that again?
So in the Coast Guard, it's actually really cool. In the Coast Guard, you don't have to go in rated. So you don't have to go in knowing what you want to do. You can go test the waters. So they call you a seaman or a fireman, depending on your duty station. So I was a non-rated seaman. So basically, they just put you to work. So I was doing like a lot of construction. Actually, funny enough, this is how like I got my construction background. And so we were like renovating offices, renovating homes, painting buildings. And then I got to kind of follow along like the medical field. And I went over there for a while. And then the admin field and the search and rescue field. And he was leaving that non-rated position to go to a rated position. So he was training to be a rescue swimmer. So that's where he went to Air Station San Fran. So I came in as this non-rate from boot camp, and I was like, new world in my young 20s and just trying to figure it out. And that's where we were.
Was he training you?
No. Actually, I tried to run to work out with him. This was like I was not in the best shape of life at that time, and he would not work out with me. He was like, you know what? I got stuff to do. I got to leave you behind. I was like, okay.
That's hilarious. What year was this that you were out in the Bay?
2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right when the Bay Area music hit hard, too.
Oh, man. I miss NorCal. And then we got stationed to Sector San Diego, and we stayed from San Diego from 2010 2018. Mm-hmm. And then we bounced around from Air Force bases from there. So then we were in the Space Coast, then we went to Colorado, and now we're here at Duke.
You were in Cali in like the best stages ever.
Yeah.
Because literally 06 to 2010 was when the Bay Area music took off, and it was like the number one, Mr. Fab, E40.
It was amazing.
And then San Diego for those 8 years was like the best time also.
Yeah.
And then 2020 came around, you were already gone, so.
Yeah, exactly. We were out in 2018, and we were able to sell our house for a great profit. And then we were able to get into a really nice house near the beach here in Florida at a really great profit, or like very low price. So
we left Cali in 2018 also.
Yeah?
In November 2018.
And you came here?
Miami.
Oh, Miami.
Yeah.
And then we ended up here, but we did van life and stuff in between. Tried Nashville, where she's from, but the prices were running away right after 2020. So we didn't settle for here because we found a house we loved, and we're like, okay, money goes farther than what we were looking for. We were getting condemned barns on acreage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And they were listing them as these beautiful wooden.
Comes with barn on property, and you show up, and it's literally, I'm like, I will pay you to remove it. It was like tilted sideways. There's like boards missing.
They were getting like the listings from California because that's how California does it too.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened was our realtor would be like, everyone we've looked at this week, California cash offer came in and took it.
Yeah.
But then 3 years later, all of them sold and moved into condos in downtown because they didn't realize you have to keep up with land.
You buy a farm, you gotta run
and
the farm.
bugs. People don't know about the bugs in Tennessee and the South. You know, Californians are like, oh, it's so pretty. And
Are you from California? Yeah, so my husband is too. So
and you're from Bama. So
the bugs here is like a whole other world. Yeah.
And the
I grew up with
humidity.
the mosquitoes, but the no-see-ums and chiggers and all that didn't exist in Cali. Mosquitoes were my biggest threat because we lived on the water
And ticks.
in NorCal.
And ticks.
Ticks.
Oh, man.
His sister.
We went to Tahoe and did all that, so we got that.
His sister calls and she's like, "There's a tick on the baby," and they like freak out and get tweezers. I'm like, "Just pick it. Just pick." Like we had ticks
Country
on
girl,
us,
yeah.
leeches, ticks, you name it. I mean, it wasn't out of the norm. The idea of what is this? What's the deer disease? Lyme disease.
Yeah.
It was just,
Whatever.
just a thing. Yeah.
Just pull it off.
On dogs,
Move on.
picking them off dogs.
I'm still like dealing with this with my husband and daughter because her name's Callie and she was a California baby too. So like being here, she's just like, the amount of ticks that I see, like this is insane. So she's definitely going back to like either like Colorado or California.
Yeah, the bugs.
Yeah.
The bugs freak people out
here. We take our dog Blue on a long walk on that Florida coast or Florida trail.
Yeah.
We came back, he maybe 25 ticks. We just pull off as we're driving. There's another one because he has long hair, so you see them because they eventually get to his face.
Yep. No. Welcome to the South.
Exactly. Because to me, the first time for me, I'm like, he's going to die. She's like, it's fine. Just pull them off. Squish their head.
So for people who aren't as familiar with the Coast Guard, I feel like it's more of a hidden gem in the military branch. People don't really know much about it.
Yeah, it is.
What is it that people do in the Coast Guard?
This is a great question. I grew up an Army brat. So my whole family, my mom, dad, brother, sister, everybody Army, right? So I'm the black sheep. And I was like, I'm not, they were all my sister, brother, and my dad were all deployed overseas when I joined the Coast Guard. And I was like, no. Like, my dad was gone my whole life. I was like, I'm not doing this, you know? And so I joined the Coast Guard because we do a lot of stateside stuff. So we do a lot of law enforcement. The drugs coming through, we're making sure we're dealing, the Coast Guard does some really cool stuff when it comes to that, but I don't think they get enough credit.
I agree.
And search and rescue.
Is that who's stopping all like the crazy stuff in Miami, like when the boats start cutting across?
We'll work a lot with like Border Patrol for sure, and then or even state, local. We take big boats out and we'll go down, down into different countries and where we can like work in certain territories and work with other law enforcement, other militaries in other countries.
Because when you see U.S. Coast Guard out on the boats, they kind of have like a cop feel or they're just there. But in reality, you guys are strapped like military people.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I was always at air stations. So we did search and rescue. So Air Station Sacramento was search and rescue C-130 unit. So we fly high. We're getting like the intel. And then we can drop rafts. So if there's like a boat way out there that's like Mayday, Mayday, we can drop the raft until the small boat can get in there and get them. But we also did law enforcement intelligence. So we would fly over that border around Mexico, come down from Sacramento, come down to San Diego, and just watch and send intel back, which was really cool. And then when I went to Air Station San Diego, that's where the helo units, the helicopter units come into play. So they're working with the small boat stations and the bigger boats too. They'll do a lot of law enforcement, but also the search and rescue. So you get a Mayday, they go out and they can get to it quicker.
Yeah.
Are you a good swimmer?
Yeah, you have to be. Yeah. And in boot camp, they push you off the platform and they say, tell me now if you can't swim because I don't want to rescue you. And you just see like nobody's telling them. And there's always like 2 or 3 that can't swim. I don't know how they got it. And then they're drowning and they jump in and they, of course they get in trouble. I told you I didn't want to save you. Yeah. And they put them through like a remedial swim program to make sure they can swim before they leave. And
do they just panic? Are you guys dumped in the ocean? It's just too strong?
No, it's just a big pool.
Oh, wow.
A cold one. They make sure it's cold, and you jump in and you got to tread water for like 2 minutes, and then you got to swim so many like laps, or I don't even remember. That was like 20 years ago.
You have to hold a gun over your head in the water too to make sure.
No, they don't do
that's
all
more
that.
Army.
No.
Yeah. Well, remember when you asked about Coast Guard, not many people know about it. There's military movies made all the time, but Coast Guard, only one comes to mind. It's The Guardian, right?
Yeah. So everybody, when that came out, everybody thought everybody was a rescue swimmer. That's what my husband was training to do.
Yeah, it's a badass movie.
It's a badass movie, yeah. I think the lady that wrote the book actually lives here, is from here. Really? Somebody told me.
Is it Ashton Kutcher and Kevin Costner, right?
Yeah. So everybody thinks you're a swimmer, especially at that time. And I'm not gonna like try to just explain it every single time I met somebody. So they're like, "Oh, you're in the Coast Guard. Like what you do is so amazing. I can't believe you do that." And I'm just like, I know what they're talking about. And I'm like, "Oh, thank you."
Like, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah, what do I do? Like I said, like I painted a building today, but like whatever.
Yeah. So at some point in your career, you had some medical things happen.
Yeah.
That shifted you out, shifting focus. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that journey for yourself.
Yeah, that's a great segue. So from being a non-rate seaman, I wanted to be a corpsman. I wanted to be in the medical field. And so I had already established that, and I was working my way up to be a physician assistant, because they have physician assistants in the Coast Guard. That's like their primary care. So I was going through all the training of that, and I was just like really sick too. Like I couldn't figure it out. I've always had digestive issues my whole life. But nobody ever really, like, I would get like hives and like welts and digestive issues. And it was always like the doctor's like, here's some steroids, here's some antibiotics. Like your kid's just like sick, whatever. So I just like lived on steroids and antibiotics my whole life. And then in my 20s, as like I'm going through and put myself through this PA program, I just got sicker and sicker and sicker. And I was going through to medical, and medical loves it. Here's some Motrin, here's some antibiotics, and here's some steroids. Yeah, exactly. Go back to work. And it got to the point where I started like this, like looking like I do now, like 130 pounds, 130 pounds. And by the end of the year, not even the end of the year, like 6 months later, I was 100 pounds soaking wet. Like I could barely keep weight on. And I was just sick. Like I was sunken in. I thought I had like cancer or something. I was just like, I'm in my 20s. I can't even like leave the house. I could barely go to work. And I just kept telling my primary care doc, who was also a PA, physician assistant, I was like, something's wrong, man. Like he kept like, he checked the basic, like your thyroid's fine, your CBC is fine, like whatever. Man, refer me out. Like something's up. And they had me on so many pharmaceuticals. Like I went through my folder recently, and I had 2 pages of pharmaceuticals I was on in that year. And he finally,
has a counteractive to something else.
Yeah,
Take
exactly.
This to
here's
help
like
with that.
Here's some Nexium for your heartburn, and here's some steroids to help with your gut, and here's some steroids to help with your hives, and here's anti-nausea medication, and here's this because it's going to counteract this. And I was just like, it got to the point where it's like, please refer me out. So they finally referred me out to a gastro, and I got diagnosed with Crohn's. And I was like, well, at least I have a diagnosis. Again, here's...
And tell people what Crohn's, for people who don't know
Crohn's is, so IBD, irritable bowel disease, not IBS, which is different. And so it's an autoimmune disease. So when you have IBD, you either have Crohn's or you have colitis. So I had Crohn's. And Crohn's is just an inflammation. It's where your body attacks your colon. Well, it can attack anywhere from the small intestine through the colon, but my colon was attacked. And it just inflames. And when your colon's inflamed, you're not absorbing nutrients, you're not absorbing water, and so you're just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So I was nutrient deficient, and nobody was testing my nutrients. I was dehydrated, nobody gave a shit about that, and it just kept building up. Like the sicker you are, the longer you are, the body just becomes sicker and sicker. So the doctor's like, oh, you got Crohn's, like here's a pharmaceutical, and this pharmaceutical had these like side effects of like death and heart attack and cancer of the colon. It was just, back in the day where it's just like all these they didn't really regulate it, and they're like, but it's better than having Crohn's symptoms. And I was like, it's not. Like it doesn't sound like it is, and it's not guaranteed to work.
And Coast Guard was okay with you taking all the medication, and they were like,
get on some medication, get back to work.
Yep.
So I was very lucky that I was in San Diego at this time, because right across from where I lived was this functional medicine, integrative medicine clinic, which I knew nothing about. And I just walked in there just sick. And I was just like, I don't care like what you do. You don't even have to explain it to me. I'm willing to try anything. And this was like the first doctor was like, has anybody talked to you about what you eat? And I was like, no. And she's like, well, what do you eat? And I was like on Tuesdays we do Popeyes, and on Fridays we do Domino's. And for lunch I just went to like KFC today. Like, just 20-year-old eating like crap.
Yeah.
And she was like, what if we like just changed your diet? Like, would you be willing to do that? I was like, I'm willing to do anything at this point. And I got on some herbs, and I started doing acupuncture, and I changed my diet. Like, I wholeheartedly committed. I put my husband on it, my son on it, my diet. Like, they're all mad at me. I'm like, we're changing how we eat.
Getting this out of the house.
Yeah, and I did, because I couldn't be sick anymore. Like, I thought I was going to die in my 20s. And I started putting on weight. And I was starting to get off, I got off my heartburn medication, and I got off this, and didn't have hives anymore. And then within a year, I was off every single medication. And that was literally just changing my diet and a few supplements to like helping decrease inflammation. And I was just like, my mind was, I was like, this is what I want to do. I don't want to be a PA in the Coast Guard. I want to do this medicine. And so I was just like, how do I get into this? And I was supposed to go to do my residency in Texas. And the Coast Guard doesn't get a lot of funding the way the rest of the military does, because we get our funding from a different pot. So I had orders, and then they had to use the money for something else, so I didn't get to go. And so we stayed in San Diego. And I was like, okay. And I looked at my husband, and I said, I'm coming up on my end of enlistment. I'm going to apply to this medical program. And if I get accepted, like, that's my sign. And I applied and I got accepted like immediately. Yeah. And I said, shit, like, I guess I'm getting out of the military. And I was terrified because I planned on being in the Coast Guard my whole life. Like, I loved it. I love the Coast Guard. I have nothing bad to say about it. So I went to my commander and I was like, I'm putting in my paperwork to get out. And he was like, no, you're not. You're going to be an officer. You're going to be a PA. Like, no, you're not. What do I got to do to talk you into this? And I was like, I'm not going to go into integrated medicine. And at this time, and this was 2013, integrated medicine wasn't that popular. Like, imagine going to a commander and saying, I'm going to do acupuncture and functional medicine and change people's lives with like diet, nutrition, and herbs and acupuncture.
You're cute.
Yeah.
Go back to work.
And he's like, Shawn, like, do not give up your career. I could see you like being in DC, doing big things. Like, I'm very much a go-getter. So he's like, there's no way. Like, you're going to like let us down if you do this. And I had to like stand my ground. And I was like, I'm doing this. Like I said, if I got accepted, I'm getting out.
Good for you.
And I did. And leading up to the end of my enlistment, they were trying to bribe me and saying, he was like, we can give you MEPS in Dallas. You can run MEPS until we can get you into the PA program. Like, you can do this.
MEPS?
MEPS is where they process you in. So if you're going to go into the military, everybody goes through MEPS. And it's military entrance processing, probably is what it stands for. I don't know what it stands for. I don't remember.
Either way, they're trying to hook you up, keep you happy.
And it's the office you go to basically process in, make sure you're like medically healthy, like all your paperwork's good, you're good to go to get in, right? Everybody's going to go through MEPS. So the big MEPS in Dallas. He was like, they need somebody there. You can go run it. You can just chill in Dallas until we can get you in to PA school. Great bribe. It was really hard to turn down.
You're like, ugh.
I've been waiting for this.
Yeah. But I said no. And I got out and I went to school and I got my doctorate in acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And then I specialized in functional medicine with it. Wow. And the amount of people I've been able to help to get off medications. And I specialized in gut health. So the amount of people I helped who had Crohn's, who had IBS, who had GERD, and even they would send me like their husband, like, my husband has high blood pressure. Can you help him? Yeah. Like, let's talk about his diet. Let's
talk about your biome.
Yeah, exactly. It was so rewarding. It really was. But then we moved a lot. And I like to work for myself. I don't like to work for other people. And my private practice, rebuilding it over and over again, it's hard. And I put a lot into it. I put a lot into it with my patients.
Yeah.
I really cared about my patients. I think I put a lot more into it than some of them did. So it's taxing. And when we were leaving Colorado and coming back here, I told my husband, kind of that next journey in life, I said, I think when we get there, I'm going to flip homes and help people flip homes to get the most bang for their buck. Because this is something we had struggled with every single time we bought and moved. I was learning how to not leave money on the table. Like, this house needs to be updated because, you know, in the military, you buy the ugliest house on the best block. I was telling you that on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
BH, they only cover so much. So we can't go live in these nice HOA neighborhoods. You know, we got to like make sure if we're getting in, we're like getting the house that's affordable for us, slowly adding to the value and then selling it for profit. So that's kind of been a way we've been building our retirement account too.
Smart.
So you went from renovating your body to renovating homes.
Hey, yes, I did.
You're like, listen, I need to gut this thing.
That's great. That's a quote. Put that in there.
This thing.
Yes. I like that. I'm going to work with that.
Yeah, I told you.
So we flipped a few homes that we lived in. We lived and flipped, and I taught a few other friends how to do it. And I said, when I get there, like, especially military, like, I really want to make sure I'm like letting them know that you're leaving money on the table because this is your savings account. And a lot of military members don't have savings accounts. What if you could buy a house, hold it for 4 years, put 20 or 30K into it, sell it for 100, 150K. You're getting that money back and you're pocketing money. Like, let's start building our savings accounts.
And it's simple things that they can do, right? You kind of went over a few of those basics with us that like anybody could do. You don't have to be a renovator to change the pain, or like give some examples of what people could do.
Like, some of the biggest things, and I'll give you an example. I walked into a house yesterday. I went for a proposal, and this house was sitting on the market, and the realtor I was like, what's your pain point? Like, why is it not selling? I already thought I knew, but I wanted to see what she was saying, and she said it's like, it's the paint. Like, we love to paint. We love to put our touch on the house, but like the hallway was green, and the kitchen was red, and there was a blue bedroom, and there was a yellow bedroom, and the laundry room was like this bright yellow, and like every paint color possible. And when people walk into the houses, they see dollar signs. So like, just pay for the professional painter to come in. Don't try to do it yourself. Like, I've seen that too. And you'll see like the blotchiness and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Or like they get the cheap paint and it doesn't cover everything. Like just paint it, like especially right before you're about to move. Like get a professional painter to come in and paint that. Just do it. You can paint cabinets. You don't have to replace cabinets. I didn't know that for the longest time. You can save so much money by professionally painting cabinets, and it doesn't cost that much.
Change the knob.
Change the hardware.
Yeah.
And then like floors, you know, like if you have old carpet, replace it, get new carpet in the bedrooms.
Plus the smells.
And also
new smell. People walk in, it smells clean, it looks clean. People want to buy that versus walking in and thinking money pit, like, you know.
If this is wrong with it, what else is wrong with it? You start going in with a negative versus being like, wow, I could see potential. I could see myself putting this. You start decorating in your mind.
Yeah,
Unless
exactly.
It's staged and it's already perfectly done.
Oh, what do you think about staging homes?
I love that. Actually, I was just talking to Polly about that, and he said like that's something they make sure they offer, which I love because you walk into a home, especially if it's like a bigger layout than you're used to with like your furniture, you can see how it's staged. It just makes sense. I love staging. Virtual staging is really cool, but if you can like literally walk in and see the staging, I think that really helps sell
I do
homes.
too. I mean, how often do you look at apartments in California and you see the model apartment, this small little 400 square foot.
And it sells to you. You're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
I could do that.
But then you move into yours, which is in the same building. You're like, doesn't look like the model.
I know.
They sold me on it. Now my furniture looks like crap in here.
Every time we'd see a model apartment, I'm like, can you have whoever decorated that come to ours?
Seriously.
I would never think to do what they do in the space.
But also you realize a house is different, but some of the apartments, they have like miniature sized couches and stuff. So you bring in your full size one, you're like, I'm blocking the hallway somehow.
A short king or something. You're like, oh, you got me there.
The beds are actually like cardboard with just like a sheet on top of it.
Or like in California, they paint over the light
here
switches.
Too. They do that.
They do it here too.
We don't do that.
But you buy a cheap or just a fix it guy.
Yeah, they'll do it. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, just like, okay. That's another thing. Change out the light switches and the plugs. Like, they don't cost that much.
$1.
Yeah, they tan on a white wall.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you can take a small budget and really make the house look more high end, which does what? Gives you a bigger return.
Gives you a bigger return, yeah. When specifically the houses I work on, I always want to make sure the people are getting their money back and making money on it. I'm not going to go in there and say, let's put $100,000 into this and you're never going to see that return.
Right.
Like our budget is, I'll talk with the realtors and the realtors will say, hey, this house is worth $400, but the comps in the area are $480. But they're also houses with new kitchens and they're, the paint looks good.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's put $18K in this. Now we're $418,000. We sold it for, I don't know the number I said, but like $480.
Yeah.
You're going to get that money back.
Right.
And you're making money and it's selling quicker. And another thing people don't think about is the appraisals that come through on top of the inspections. If a house looks good, it looks clean, looks taken care of, the inspector's not going to find as many things wrong with it. If the house has crappy paint,
they're going to be
painted over, like what else are they hiding? What are they trying to hide?
Exactly.
So we've noticed that too, that like just it makes the transition, the selling process so much smoother. Put your little money into it. It's like a stock, like flip it. Put a little money into it, flip that money, sell your house. You're going to get more people there, more traffic to it, and a higher offer.
So what about people in the military out here who don't have a 6-month window or a year to sit on the house? They get their papers and they have to go.
Oh yeah, so that's why I started this company. So most of our renovations are 3 to 4 weeks. I only like to do cosmetic renovations. I want to do cosmetic renovations that are going to help you get your house on the market for the most money. So that's why I really like to work with realtors. Somebody who is going to be selling this summer and the spring. Let's get in there. Let's get them a quote. Let's get it started before you get it on the market. Like I need 3 to 4 weeks in and out, get it on the market, get it looking good. So that's the thing where I don't want it sitting on the market 30 or 60, 90 days. You've already PCS'd and now you've lost money because we're reducing value. And to me, that's real money. Like you could have sold it for $480, but now you're down to like $450, whatever. Let's just do it right the first time and get it sold so you're not making that monthly payment and you're not losing money on the house.
Yeah, because we had a neighbor do that. Special Forces guy, now he's in D.C., but he had to sell like in a month, and then he just sold it for way less. I mean, personally, I think it dropped the comps in the area. He only sold it for like $5,000 more than what he bought it for 5 years previously.
And he renovated it, right? He put a lot of landscape and
he did little stuff like that, but he changed like the laundry room countertop and a few things on his own.
Little things, yeah.
But either way, it's like for a military guy to be like, I got to get out of here because now I got double rent and I need the money. And then they just sell quick. And then all the neighbors like, well, there goes my comp.
We get desperate. And that's why I want to change that, because we did too. Like our home in Colorado, we were there less than a year before they moved us here to Duke. And so I was like, we didn't have time to update it. And I was talking to that realtor and I was like, you don't have somebody that can come in and do this? Like, we're leaving. The house is going to be open. And he was like, not really. Like, I have a few contractors, but like they're not reliable and I don't want to project manage this. And I was like, okay. So I was like, well, just sell it, because we were desperate. And I was like, I need you to sell this so we can buy a next house. And we were able to sell it for a slight profit, thank goodness. But again, like, what did it do to those comps in the area where those people are, those people are left behind?
Don't move back here.
Yeah, exactly. So let's take care of take care of your neighborhoods, take care of your neighbors too. I have 2 houses in my neighborhood right now that have been on the market for like 120, 130 days. One of them's military. And I walked into that open house and I was like, how can I help this house sell for more? Because good business for them is good business for our neighborhood. And I don't want this to go down anymore. What can I do?
Yeah.
That's true.
And they just weren't willing to put in the renovations because people are scared. People are scared of contractors too.
Yes. Okay, and also what about the funding? People don't have the money.
Or the money.
How do you combat the
So-
money part?
So talk us through that process.
Yeah,
because I know you have
You
one.
walked into the house. Let's say the realtor said yes. How do we get started?
Yeah. So we offer 6 months, no payments, no interest. We work with First National Bank of Omaha. They specifically wrote this for our business, which is really nice. And so that's why, like, let's get started sooner than later. Like, and the 6 months doesn't start until your last payment is made. So it's not like that 6 months starts today when you sign the contract. Your 6 months starts when you hand me that last payment and it's done. So say it took us 3 or 4 weeks, a month later, now you have 6 months to sell that house.
Oh, wow. From that last day of
So you better sell. You got a good realtor. They better
Yeah, you
sell
got to
that
have a
house
good
in
realtor.
6 months.
You got to have a realtor that's committed to selling it, especially right now why things are kind of moving a lot slower. It's not the same as it was last year. But that does give them that 6 months to not have to worry about anything. The moment you sell the house, you pay off the loan. So that to me was really important because, again, like being military, we don't have savings accounts a lot of times, especially enlisted military.
Right.
So this is a way to kind of do it where you don't really have to touch the money. But that 6 months, if it comes, that's where picking your realtor is really important too.
Right.
You want a realtor who's going to fight for you and who's going to make sure they're doing everything they're doing. And this isn't like a hobby or a side hustle. You want a realtor who's been in the game and who does this for a living and they're passionate about it.
And I'm sure because we do, there's all types. Because like you said, some are just like, yeah, I sell houses. But, but then you got like this guy in the other room who's just like nonstop. Like, how do I do it? Let's go. Let's grind.
Can we name drop? Is it okay if we say his name? Polly?
Paul Dominich.
Yeah, no, like Polly is so passionate about this. Oh my God. Like if you just like anybody listening, if you go and have a conversation with Polly and he gives you the little handout of everything they do, it's mind blowing. Yeah, the amount of stuff.
And it's like, and if you talk to him, it's above and beyond what they actually do. If you need help with anything, he's going to do it. He'll find a way to do it.
We've been denied by 6 painters, I think. We had some pillars we had a military family that flipped our house. And just, they were a short time. They had to cut some corners on some things. The house is beautiful. They did a great job. But there were some things we had to fix. Yeah. And then we have these pillars outside. I don't know if
There's sun damage and different things.
Yeah, and behind the beautiful brown paint was this like hideous green, like the green on this light. And I was like, somebody's got to come fix this. No painter would touch it. Really? I don't know. All you had to do was sand it, prime it, paint it. And we would have done it. We just didn't have the time. Yeah. We weren't finding the time to do it. Anyway, so we call up Polly. We're like, hey, do you have a painter you can loan us to come do this? Yeah. His painter showed up the next day at 8 o'clock in the morning, showed up the day after, got everything done. I was like, and he did immaculate work. Yeah. I was like, this is incredible. This is what your vendor list looks like. I can see why you're a successful realtor. Yeah. Because he works really with the top people and they show up, they're reliable and they're affordable. And yeah. Yeah, I like that because it represents your name. You got to make sure you're keeping your small team tight and not just bringing everybody in because not everybody wants to be at the same level as you.
Yeah, I don't know if you've driven through Fort Walton Beach, but have you been seeing Paul's face on every billboard?
Every billboard. And in front of a lot of homes, like on that little swinging thing.
We were in the middle of nowhere off like Range Road where like there's bases in the back range area. And you just see, it's Polly, it's your turn. I'm just like, what is there a sign doing out here?
Yeah.
He's just like, he's trying to cover everything.
I know. We told him we were interviewing. I was like, you got to talk to her, man. She's legit.
Yeah.
And he was like, I got a meeting with her. Like, he was already ready. He's like, I got these ideas.
Well, she didn't know. He's like, I know her.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know the connection.
Clients.
Yeah.
But yeah, when the ball started getting rolling a few days ago, because we were like, she's coming in. He's like, I need to call her.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get a meeting with him. He's so busy. But Polly and Josh were my realtors.
No way.
When we bought our house.
I didn't know that.
So that's how I know.
How was it working with him on the other side?
Great.
Showed up, did everything he said he was going to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then when we found out our house and had so much like termite damage, which is a whole nother story. They went above and beyond. They didn't have to. They could have ghosted me. They didn't have to. And then every single time I text them and ask for information, like, hey, do you have a contractor? This contractor's like not calling me. And like they sent me contractors. They sent me, they helped me find paperwork, from the house when it was like previously listed because comes to find out that they knew they had termite damage and they didn't.
Shady.
No.
Yeah.
They didn't disclose that?
Yeah. And they're like, you know what? We're here for you. Like, let me, like, whatever we can do, like, we'll do. And they went above and beyond for months. Like,
you got it fixed?
Yeah. We got it fixed. Yeah. $120,000 later, the whole house was termite damage.
Oh my God. Did they do a termite inspection?
Yeah.
And it wasn't?
No, because they had covered it.
So does that mean that the company gets in trouble for missing it at that point?
You would think.
So yeah, how does that work?
Like, you paid a termite inspection and they miss it.
And they cleared it and said everything was good?
Yeah.
And the whole house was just like chewed up.
The every single exterior facing wall, interior wall, into the rafters, the garage, the whole house. They had to take it down to beams. They had to put it was a complete gut.
So that was your first renovation.
That was my first renovation, like full on renovation.
Rebuild.
Yeah.
What do you do? Yeah, do you go back to the inspector and say you missed this? How'd you miss? Is there insurance on your inspection?
Did you just walk up and say, how'd you miss this? Like,
we did. He said, I can only see what I can see.
Wow, good job. I love that. That should be on his business card.
I know I won't be, referring that company out.
We see what we see. Call us today.
But I kind of get that too. Like, what are you going to see if they covered up? And they did cover up. Mm-hmm. The previous owners covered it up. They put like new drywall, painted, over many years. So it was going to be a cosmetic, worst house on the best block in Blue Water Bay. Mm-hmm. It sat on the market for over 100 days. It had no traction. It was still stuck in the 90s, 90s kitchen, carpet, weird tile, like all sorts of weird stuff going on in the house. Nobody wanted to touch it. But for me, like, this is a gold mine. Like, I can see the beauty. The vision. I can see it.
Yeah. So did the termites.
So did the termites. They got there before me. And between the dining room and the kitchen was this non-low barren wall that if I just blow this out, it's going to be wide open. Right, the beauty. Trying to talk my husband into this.
And the homeowners before were like, don't. Let's just hope she doesn't blow this wall out.
And if I wouldn't, I don't think we would have ever known, honestly.
One hurricane comes, just blows your house down.
Literally, like I think, like one loud sneeze and it would have fell in. And
puff and I puff.
It's crazy. And so I was like, let's do this. And we were just, we took the hammer and like non-load bearing. And I'm pulling the drywall back, and I'm just like
Joanna Gaines.
Yeah, exactly. And recording it too. Like you see my reaction. I'm like put my finger through like the studs, and I'm like, oh my God. And so we're pulling back, and it's just, it was sawdust.
Oh,
and I was like,
God.
And so we went. I was like, maybe it's not in the beam, the load bearing beam. And so we pull back, and we see the beam is all ate up. And like at that moment, you're like, don't cry.
What have we done?
He's like, should I stop filming you now?
Yeah, exactly. And
you gotta send us this video.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll put on the clip.
And we called contractor after contractor after contractor, and nobody wants to help us. Mm-mm. Like, first of all, they're busy. Like 30A is building a lot.
And you bought at the peak. You bought before the peak happened, right? So everybody's just.
This was last October. We've been in a year now, and they would be like, the people that would call us back were like, I'm just going to be completely honest. We're not even going to be able to come and touch anything or look at anything for like 6 months. And I was like, okay. And so again, segue into my company. I was like, when we finish this it pushes me even more to start this business. Like, people need a contractor around here who they can trust, who's going to get the job done, who's going to show up, and who's going to care. And we finally got a contractor. This was in October. We finally got a contractor coming in January. And they did they took it on, and they did the renovation, and it took until the middle of July. I guess it could have took longer, but it was longer than they told us to take 2 or 3 months tops. It went through middle of July, and I was like, I'm moving in. I'm tired of living in Airbnbs. Like, you have to work around me. I can't do this anymore. And they finished. And now we're back in our house, and it's so beautiful, though.
Oh, congratulations.
So Lemons and Lemonade, we have like one of the most beautiful houses I've ever lived in. We have big, wide open windows. We have a brand new kitchen, new floors, new paint, new bathroom. I got my soaking tub, so I'm happy.
So you're living my dream,
What we didn't realize either, because we live in Blue Water, we didn't realize it's like a termite home in that whole, like before the houses were there, that's just where the termites lived.
It's swarm season.
And with the second spring starts coming around and the heat starts, swarm season begins, and we'll be on walks and you'll just see them flying.
Coming. Like, I got to get home before they get
Turn off the lights, hurry.
We called our inspector in a panic because I hadn't.
Well, our realtor, because we found one termite in the house.
No, there were like 10.
Okay.
Yeah, they get
but I didn't know that if you
we had
see
our lights
them,
on. We just thought it was normal.
We didn't know. People turn their lights off during swarm season. I had no idea. I'm not used to termites.
So she's like, we have termite damage. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with the house.
We just bought the house. And I was like, here we go. Same thing. I'm like, here we go. Here we go.
Start panicking.
But our realtor's like, well, they're dying when they get in, first of all. And it's like, turn off the lights. You're in Blue Water. And we're like, what does that even mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
We went through the same thing because we just moved here. We bought the house in October 2023. We're in an Airbnb 2024. And termite down by the bay in Blue Water. And I'm sitting there cooking. Sun's going down. Everything's great.
Here comes a termite.
And I saw,
in the house.
and then and I was like, what are these bugs? Wait, I'm looking, is there a window open? And there's another one, and there's another, and I looked at the door, and the door has just enough crack that they're coming through the door in like the thousands.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? Are these termites? And I'm panicking. I'm literally panicking. And my husband was like dying laughing. And I'm like, I'm not a bug killer. I'm like, I love every animal. Like, but I'm like in there, and I'm like, you know what? And I got the Lysol, and I'm like, like, I can't take it. There's no way I'm not sleeping. And there's like, they're on the ceiling and they're dying and they're falling.
I didn't know that either. They lose their wings. They only live for like a couple
Nobody
hours.
warns you when we move here.
They only live long enough to chop your house down.
Yeah, literally. And so the next day I was like talking to the owners and they're like, oh, it's termite swarm season. We should have told you to turn the lights off. They're fine. We don't have termites. Everything that comes in the house, they're dead. Whatever.
Are you doing termite traps around your house?
So, you know what? Again, lemons and lemonade. This worked out really well for us because a lot of houses here won't, the pest control won't do a bond to like rebuild the house, right? But since we were down to the studs and we had brand new studs, I was like, hey, it's a brand new house.
Yeah.
What do you say? Cut us a break.
And they did?
He did. He was like, as long as I can treat all the studs, you'll pay for me to treat the studs, and I'll go ahead and lay everything, and you stay on a continuous treatment plan with us, we will cover this.
What?
And they did.
How many years?
As long as we're under contract with them.
Wow.
And as long as we continue to pay and keep up with it.
That's amazing.
Do you guys have the bait traps around your house?
All of them.
Because
A gazillion.
What's crazy
didn't
is
want to,
when they
but-
replace ours, literally, one was completely empty and one we picked up, and the termites are in there in the middle of the day, just going to town. He lifted it just enough for us to see, and he's like, they're working, and one of them was completely empty. I'm like, well, now that you sold me on your business, because before I'm like, what do you just rip me off for payments all the time?
Yeah.
They come and check,
They
inspect.
really, because she's a beekeeper, so we have like the whole colony and queen thing. They're like, it's the same thing. They all come here and take the food, and they take them back to their colony, and now the colony gets poisoned, and the queen, they wipe them out by bringing poison to them.
Okay.
So these are all tricks.
We don't
That's how it works.
spray. I'm like, I can't spray because I don't want bees. You know,
Yeah.
we don't spray anyway, but so we were thinking the
'cause you're,
termite
like
traps.
holistic too, right? Yeah.
Like in the ground. I'm like, okay, we can handle that. We
Yeah,
have
that's
a
how I was the same way.
garden.
I was like, it's like, is it natural? And then like after you deal with a $120,000 return, you know what? Put the traps in the ground.
That's
Yeah, well, is it worth
exactly
losing
right.
your house?
Yeah,
That's exactly.
Yeah.
And our house is all wood, so we get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The amount of wood houses built here is insane.
It's insane.
Why would they do that?
I don't know.
That way the
Isn't
hurricane
there a
knocks it
hurricane?
over, and then we get
Start
it
over. Yeah.
Have you met Becca yet, the mayor's wife? Becca that might be a good connection too. She was on our
Becca
podcast. She's doing this like a sustainable home building because she says, why do we keep rebuilding the homes the same way when a hurricane comes in and blows it down? And we wonder why insurances are so high.
Yeah.
So she's been working, she's patenting this whole idea. She's going to change the game
Like
in real
holistic
estate.
home building.
Oh, yeah.
Ergonomic to like
It's
oceanfront properties.
Shout out. I
Instead
wanna
of
meet her
clearing
for sure.
trees,
I'm gonna
actually
connect
building
you
around
too.
the trees.
You would love her, and she's a really great connection and similar mindsets of wanting to make it better.
Yeah.
Like why keep rebuilding it the same way?
Exactly.
The system is broken. Let's fix it.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I didn't know people were doing that because I had that same exact conversation. Like, why is nobody fixing this?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing it.
Great.
And it's cool. She can't talk too much because she has like NDAs and stuff with everything, but she'll let you in.
Cool.
Yeah. Remind me because I got pregnant brain and I will forget.
I will.
So where did we leave off when we got sidetracked on
termites?
So she's doing the renovations, working with realtors, helping military.
Sounds like whatever personally impacts you in life and you really believe in it, you go for it afterwards.
Actually, yeah. That's funny. I feel, and my husband has said this, and all my family members have said, like, I'm just a helper. I can't not help. I don't know. It's just, so when it was like my Crohn's disease, and I still have my patients that still reach out to me, even though I'm retired now. It's just like, how can I share this knowledge with you so you can share it with the next person? Because like, that's how change is made, right? Like, I'm not just in things for profit. Like, I want to make sure I'm leaving a mark and I'm making change. And so with this next journey, the same thing. Like, I'm not like HGTV, like just flipping for money and like being like, whatever, like it's all fake. No, this is real. Like, this is real people, real money. Don't leave money on the table. Like, start taking care of yourself. Put some money in your savings account so you can go get that better house at the next place, or you have a retirement. And don't get desperate and just sell for less.
So when are you starting a termite control business now that you
that'll
really
be next.
believe in this?
I really believe in this. Brian's Pest Control is good though. Like, I'll name drop Brian's Pest Control. They've been awesome. Yeah. And they're like really personable. Like, he came out and he
every
like
6 months
walked through and talked to us about everything. And the funny thing is, he was like, oh, I know this house. Like, I know this house because I told the previous owners they had live termites and they had termite damage, and they were like really great with like helping us through the whole process too.
Wow.
So
yeah, we love them.
Yeah,
they're like small business. They're huge, but they like have
everywhere.
they have that small business mentality still.
Like, he knew my house. When I gave him the address, he was like, I know your house.
Get out of here. That is so cool.
He's like, did it fall down yet?
Well, he asked, he said, are you renters? Because it had been a rental for so long. And I was like, no, we just bought it. And like, you could just hear like the breath leave him, like, oh, why?
He goes, somebody finally found it.
Yeah. And I was like, so like, would you mind coming like over and like,
He's like, I already know.
He's like, I already know what we need to do. I'm on my way. Like,
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry y'all had to deal with that.
Yeah.
But it obviously happened for a reason.
yeah, I really like to think like lemons and lemon, like, what can I learn from this experience?
Yeah.
And we were very lucky because we had flipped so many houses that we had that money in our savings. So another thing, like, you never know when that emergency is going to hit, because what would we have done if we didn't have that money?
Yeah.
And so it just really made me even that much more passionate about like, I want to be that person for people here. I mean, I don't want people to have to deal with termites or that kind of damage, but like, same thing, like, you need somebody who knows renovations. Where can we save you money? Let's get you the most money, most bang for your buck. So the fact that I made it through sane,
Sure.
I didn't lose my sanity, and I still want to do this. It was kind of like that same thing where it's like, okay, this is my next journey. Like, even I was thrown out to the universe, and now let's make it happen.
Yeah.
So.
And when and why would somebody call you?
I really like to work with sellers. I mean, obviously I work with buyers too. Like, if you get that ugly house on the best block and you're like, okay, like, I need this updated, like, call me, like, let's put in the work.
Can they still use that 6-month loan?
They
if they're a
can,
buyer too?
but
Okay.
the loan itself, it's going to kick in, and now you have that second loan that so that's why I like to work with sellers too. I don't like to put people into like another loan, another payment.
Makes sense, yeah.
Unless you're a big time cash buyer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with sellers, it's different because it doesn't leave that like heaviness on my heart that like we just left somebody with more money. They're going to come. I mean, if you can afford it, great, but like not a lot of people can. And they're like, oh yeah, let's take out this loan to renovate the house. And now you're stuck with this loan because you're not going to pay that off in 6 months unless you are. But like for the sellers, you will like update the house. If you're going to sell your house, call me. Let me come in with a realtor. If you don't already have a realtor, like, let's look at comps. Let's get the whole scenario and say what's selling and what do we need to do to get you the most bang for your buck.
So you work directly with the realtor, or do you work with the seller?
I do like to work with the realtors because I don't like to try to pretend like I know the comps or the area. I mean, Fort Walton's different than Destin. Destin's different than Blue Water. Blue Water is different than Freeport, right? Different than 38. Everything's different. So this is where I don't try to like go outside of my knowledge base. I would bring somebody in, like, if they didn't have a realtor, I'd bring somebody in with like Polly. Polly's going to run the comps. Polly's going to say, in the last few weeks, these homes in this area sold for this number, and they were updated. They had updated kitchens and all white paint. Mm-hmm. This is what we need to do with your house. And then I go, okay, so we're at 400. We want to get it up to 480. So like, I want to make sure we're not spending more than 30 to 50K And that's where we start making our decisions of what's going to make the biggest impact.
With the smallest
With the smallest amount of,
budget.
exactly.
Good. That's so cool.
And,
so if somebody's thinking of listing, do they reach out to you, or do they reach out to you once they've listed? When's that
reach out before you list. Like, let's not get it, because you don't want it to say someone to see that and say, oh, this house is already on the market. It's been on the market for 30 days. I'm going to come in with a low ball offer. Like, contact your realtor or contact me. If you don't have a realtor, I can find you a realtor, and let us come in and let's talk numbers. And then we can say, all right, let's get this renovated before you list it, because you don't want it to have that history. If you can avoid that, because people find that history and they try to use it against you. They think, oh, you're desperate. You know, it's like,
yeah, for sure.
I'm that person. I look at the history.
Well,
like, what did you buy it for?
Yeah,
and when you see it where it's like been on the market for 180 days, what's wrong with it? Why is it taking so long?
Or even longer. We looked at a piece of property. It was on the market for like 500 something days.
Relisted,
yeah, or back on the market. And we're looking at property.
Yeah.
I'm like, you bought this for $60,000 and you're selling it for $1 million. I need to know why.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you do?
Yeah.
Show me. Because, make it make sense. I know the value of property has gone up, but not that 900%.
And a lot of people are chasing comps, and that's why I like to work with realtors. Like, if you're chasing a number, let's have somebody who specializes in this to give you a realistic number.
Yeah.
This is what we can list it for today. This is what we can list it for if we update it. Because you don't want to go chasing 480 with a 1993 kitchen, like, or whatever. You know, if I'm just giving that number. So that's where me working with the realtors. I like the realtors to really be my client, where they're that middleman and they can speak to that seller.
And then you get a repeat client. Now the realtor's like, hey, you did such a great job. You made this house sell quicker. You made them money. You made the seller money. And
it's a win-win-win
for everybody. Yeah.
And it makes sense
it's a no-brainer.
Game plan ahead of time before it goes in the market, because now they can add descriptions. Updated kitchen. Like,
new on the market. Here's a list of all the updates, you know, and then you see the pictures. The pictures are huge, right? How many times have you avoided going to see a place? The house we have now, I avoided for so long just because the pictures were gross.
Yeah.
And finally, when we were like desperate, because this was a year ago when we were getting outbid, which is a different market than today, I was like, all right, let's go look at this house. But I never would have looked at it. The pictures we have now, I think we would have a huge turnout if we put the house back on the market.
Yeah.
It's the exact same house.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Send us some of those before and after pictures. It'd be fun to show people kind of what you can do.
Yeah.
And do you work with, is your main thing to do like do you have different packages? Like you have a base, a standard, and then this like huge package if somebody wants to just paint and flip light switches, and then if they want to tear down walls, or if they want to, do you do everything?
No, I don't like to tear down walls. If you want to do that, I'm going to send you somewhere else. I like to keep it 3 to 4 weeks because I want to get it on the market for you. And I don't want to change layouts. Okay. For me, if we're going to go changing layouts and do all this stuff, I feel like you're going to put more money into it than what you're going to get back.
Yeah.
Let's work with your footprint. Let's paint cabinets. Let's change out backsplash. New countertops, new paint goes a long way.
Okay.
So I really like to do those quick cosmetic upgrades. Get your house on the market, get it sold. You start tearing down walls, we got to pull permits. That gets delayed by the city. Who knows what's behind those walls?
Right.
Let's not go down that path. Let's get your house on the market and get it sold for top dollar.
And what about when people say, well, I'll just paint it myself, or I'll just, these are things I could do myself.
Yeah.
Just say, okay, good, have fun, and then call me after when you need me the second time.
Yeah, if it's that simple, I'll just do it.
I will give you a great example of this. In order to save money on our house, and I'm a professional, but I'm not a professional painter. I said, we're going to paint the house to save money, which was like $6,000. And that's a lot of money. But we moved back in the house in July, and we've barely painted the whole house. The ceiling completely needs to be repainted. We got to go back over multiple more coats. You don't want to paint the house. You're going to go put in all that work to paint the house. Just pay for a professional to do it. They're going to get in and out in a few days, and we can get it on the market.
And they're going to tape it all up.
They're going to tape it.
They're going to cover your furniture.
If you hit the ceiling with your paint.
Now you're starting over on the top.
Now you have to repaint your ceiling.
Been there.
Yeah.
Been there. That was
you can't just touch it up. There's no way you're going to match that.
We built out our box, like our van, right? It was the black ceiling, white walls. Very simple. I would paint the walls. I would do a touch up. I'd paint the ceiling. I'd get white on the ceiling. I'd get black on the, and I looked at him at one point. I said, I'm not painting this fucking van one more. This is it. This is it. And then I would do it again. I'm like,
one up yourself. Let's talk about the condo in Miami. We moved out, and we had
this
spots
is why you
on the
paint
wall,
things on yourself.
And it was a full living room wall, like the size of the outdoor studio wall right there. She's like, I'm gonna touch up these spots. And I'm like, the paint's in the closet. It's about 2.5, 3 years old. I was like, that paint's not going to match.
It's not.
She does that. I left the thing for the gym. I came back and there was just the size of this TV blotches in 2 spots. And I'm like, you got to paint the whole wall.
I didn't know paint changes colors over time.
Changes colors and paint fades.
Yeah, it gets
sun damage.
Yeah.
Like, so you're not going to ever match it.
This is how we were so lucky. The manager of the building who was going to sell it after that was like, don't worry about it. We're repainting the whole thing anyways. And Steph
we paid
was
like $500.
Oh, thank God.
But we paid a little out. Like they took a little bit out of our deposit, but not much.
Yeah.
But I was trying to do the right thing by patching up our holes and painting 2 different colors.
Have fun painting it while you live there.
No, I hate
Pay for
it.
a professional to paint it before you move out.
Yes.
And another great example, I went yesterday for to give a proposal to a realtor who was having a hard time moving this. And they finally had got an offer after so long, but the seller wanted $15,000 in paint to put towards painting. First of all, it shouldn't cost that much, but you need to get you need to get a quote. So I was like, I went in there and I was like, and I did the math and I was like, let me and my guys come in and we'll paint it for, and I think the whole house we said $12,000 or just the main areas. I forgot what it, but like $9,000.
Worth it.
Pay it, sell it. Don't give that guy $15,000. And that was the pain point. Like a lot of people weren't wanting to take the house because of this house had so many colors.
Did it?
It was very unique.
Like
There was an artist in that house for sure.
Yes.
And it wasn't bad paint. It was just very colorful.
You have to like that style.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And also when they work with you, they get your vendor list. And so that's also what they're paying for because you've done a good job building up the contractors that you work with.
I have great subcontractors. I have very high standards for my subcontractors. They're going to come in and they're going to take care of your house like it's theirs. I'm going to be there on site. I'm going to be jumping in and out and making sure everything's going according to plan and we're staying on budget and on schedule and everything's being taken care of.
And if somebody has to leave, if they have to move out, will you still be there monitoring and making sure everything is being done? Yeah, which is also huge because some people are like, I only have 1 month, I have to go. But you'll say, well, I'll be here for the next 5 months.
Yeah.
Taking care of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
I got to make sure the project's taken care of and we're closing it out regardless. So it doesn't matter how long it takes, but we're not going to be in a 5-month project. Right? Yeah. We're going to do it a lot quicker than that. Yeah.
3 to 4 weeks.
I was thinking more the
right
loan,
after.
like if the loan goes to 6 months. So,
Yeah.
Well, you just got to hope the realtor pushes the sell at that point.
Yeah, and that's where picking your realtor makes a huge difference.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love this.
It's awesome.
I love that you went from from military to gut health to renovations
To gutting houses.
It's so fun. Your story is really fun.
Thank
and it's
you.
inspiring because you can change your careers and still be successful.
Yeah.
And a mom and
a
wife.
mom. Yeah, exactly.
and
move and be a military spouse. That's always tough too. So
Yeah. Is your husband still in the military?
yeah, he's up at Duke. He's in the Air Force. Yeah.
Are y'all planning on staying here for a while? Okay.
Yeah. This is his. As of right now, this is his last tour. He could retire after this tour, but our daughter graduates in 3 years, and he's already talking like, well, we could go to DC or we could go here. And I'm like,
It's funny they all do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But being military, sometimes we're like, you get the itch. So I was like, talk to me in 3 years.
Yeah,
See.
exactly.
Right now, I love it. I love being here. We're near the water. Weather's great.
So if people want to sell their houses and they want to do some renovation, they need to do it now because they got 3 years with you before you bounce.
You never know. Things change.
At least.
Yeah, at least. Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah. You have any other questions for
I
anything?
think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Love how we finally get to meet our neighbor.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, right there with me in Bluewater, right?
Yeah, we'll see you over at Schooners.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
This was great.
We'll tag all your information down below so people can reach out to you that are in the area.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So much fun. Thank you so much, Shawn. Tune in next week. We'll have another guest, but if you need some renovations, check out Shawn. See you.
Cool.